Devaki so effulgent, which he never saw, which was confirming that the Lord has appeared in Mother Devaki's womb. He still deliberated and decided not to kill Devaki and to wait till the child appears. And now we see that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the great sages Narad, Deval, and Vyasa, and other demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, they all approached the room of Devaki, although all invisible, to offer their respectful obeisances and prayers to praise the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll take the first prayer. This is the verse number 26. So here is the part to meditate on appearance of Krishna. These are the prayers by the greatest of sages and the greatest of demigods. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye Satasya Satyamrata Satyanetram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha. Very poetic. The word Satya is being used so many times. This is Alankar. The demigod prayed, "O Lord, you never deviate from your vow." Satyavratam, one who never deviates from his vow, which is always perfect because whatever you decide is perfectly correct. Why? Because Krishna is Satyaparam. Satyam Param Dhimahi. That is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in three phases of cosmic manifestations, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Tri Satyam. What is Tri Satyam? In creation, maintenance, and annihilation, Krishna remains the supreme truth. So this is Tri Satyam. Satasya yonim nihitam cha satya. Further, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor and therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth. Satasya. In all ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami or inner force. Satya Atmakam. You are equal to everyone and your instructions apply for everyone. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us your protection. Sharanam Prapannaha. The demigod or devotees, Prabhupada is saying the demigod or devotees know perfectly well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the true substance, whether within this material world or in the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam begins therefore with the word Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. Vasudev Krishna is the Param Satyam, the Supreme Truth. The Supreme Truth can be approached or understood by the Supreme Method, as declared by the Supreme Truth. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yashchashmi tattvata. Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhakti, devotional service, is the only way to understand the absolute truth. For protection, therefore, the demigod surrenders to the Supreme Truth, not to the relative truth. There are persons who worship various demigods, but the Supreme Truth Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita 7.23, Antamantu phala tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited, impermanent. The demigods are impermanent, and the benedictions derived from the demigods are also impermanent. Whereas the living entity is eternal. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Katha Upanishad. Every living entity therefore must search for eternal happiness, not temporary happiness. The word Satyam Param Dhimahi Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first verse, indicate that one should search for the absolute truth, not the relative truth. While offering praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narsimha Prahlad Maharaj said, Balasaneha Sharanam Pritro Narsimha Nartasya Cha Agadam Udhanvati Majjato Noha. Generally, it is understood that the protection for a child are his parents. Balasya Neha Sharanam Pitro. Pitro means his parents or his elders. But this is not actually the fact. The real protector is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the realization of Prahlad Maharaj. Tapasya tat pratividhir ya ihanje satas tavad vibhotanu bhitam tvat upekshitanam. If neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a child, despite the presence of his parents, will suffer. And a diseased person, despite all medical help, will die. In this material world, there is a struggle for existence. Men have invented many means for protection, but these are useless if the Supreme Personality of Godhead rejects them. Therefore, the demigod purposefully said, Satyamakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna. Therefore, the demigod purposefully said, Satya Atmakam Tvam. Satya Atmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna. Real protection can be obtained from you, O Lord, and therefore we surrender unto you. The Lord demands one's surrender unto him. Sarv dharmani parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Bhagavad Gita 18:56. And he further says, Sakradeva prapannoyas tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadami etadvitam mama. This is from Ramayana. Actually, this verse is quoted by Ramayana. When Vibhishan comes and takes shelter of Lord Ram. So Lord Ram is declaring very boldly, if a person once surrenders unto me, sincerely saying, my Lord, from this day I am fully surrendered unto you, I will always give him protection. This is my vow. The Rami etad vratam mama. This is Krishna Ram's vow. Ramayana Yuddha Kand 12.20. The demigod offered their prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One moment. Hare Krishna. So Lord Ram is very emphatically declaring in Yuddha Kand of Ramayana, the demigods offered their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he had now appeared in the womb of his devotee Devaki to protect all the devotees harassed by Kamsa and his lieutenants. Thus the Lord acts as Satyavrata. The protection given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be compared to the protection given by the demigods. It is said that Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. When Lord Ramchandra went to kill him, Lord Shiva could not give him protection. The long Prabhupada. Prabhupada is really emphasizing. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narad and followed by many other demigods, had now invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select prayers, which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of devotional desires. The first word they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true in his vow. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends in this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. What is the first word? Without seeing the verse, Prabhupada is mentioning here. What is the first prayer or first recitation? Yes. Yes, there shall Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारते अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य.
In this verse, it's Satyavratam. Satyavratam. So we should, if you see, so how Krishna is Satyavratam, because he is saying, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshasyami Masucha. So that is Krishna's emphatic, bold declaration. And whoever the person may be, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Api chedasapi papebhyo sarvebhyo papakrittama. Jnana agni sarva karmani. I think it is 3.4.37. If someone is 4.36. Api chedasi papebhyo sarvebhyo papakrittama. Can anyone declare that he is sarvebhyo papakrittama? He is the most sinful amongst all sinful personalities. Even to that extent, if a person is sinful, Krishna says that he will be delivered. Or here he says, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshasyami Masucha. Or Lord Ram is declaring that Abhyam Sarvadatasmi, that I will always give you fearlessness in all situations, in all conditions. So Krishna's feature here, what is being emphasized by the demigod is Satyavratam. So whatever Krishna says, whatever Krishna declares is always going to be true. It can never change. So this is their realization. So Prabhupada is saying they began to pray to Supreme Personality of Godhead and select prayers which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of devotional desire. The first word they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true in his vow. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Lord descends to this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord has taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill this vow. And the demigods were very elated because all these demigods, they approached Lord Vishnu on the Garbhodak ocean and they were pleading, they were praying, they were begging to be delivered from the atrocities of all these sinful kings. And now the Lord has heard their prayers. They are very jubilant and they are saying, Krishna is Satyavrata. The demigods could understand, They were very glad that the Lord was appearing in order to fulfill his mission. And they addressed him as Satyam Param, the supreme absolute truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigod gives information that the supreme absolute truth is Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the absolute truth. Krishna is the absolute truth. Relative truth is not truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is controlled by supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing. And when there is Krishna, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is the absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the supreme truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there is any reputation within the material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there is any wisdom and education, so how beautifully Prabhupada is putting. What is Prabhupada explaining? Can anyone relate and connect? Prabhupada is giving an explanation of Yes, Monica?
Prabhuji, Prabhupada ji is explaining Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam.
Shad Ashwarya. You see? Shad Ashwarya. Ashwarya Samagrasya. Virasya Yashashashriya. The Prabhupada is explaining everything here, in all the 6 opulences. If there is any reputation, Yasha means fame. Is within this world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. Bala, if there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. Yan, if there is any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. And then, as you said, Krishna is the source of all relative truth. Devotees, therefore, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, pray, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Worshipping the Adi Purush, the supreme truth, Govinda, everything everywhere is performed in terms of 3 principles: Jnana, Bala, Kriya. Knowledge, strength, and activity. Prabhupada is saying, worshipping the Adi Purusha, the supreme truth, Govinda, everything everywhere is performed in 3 principles. One should be in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He should have that bala. Which bala? The spiritual strength, the potency and activity in every field. If there is not full knowledge, full strength, and full activity, an endeavor is never successful. Therefore, if one wants success in everything, one must be backed by these 3 principles in the Vedas. Shweta Upanishad. Here is a statement about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This will speak about, this is the Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate na tat samas cha vidikascha drishyate parasha shakti vivideva shruyate swabhaviki jnana bala kriya cha. Actually, this is not from Mother Lila. This is from Shweta Upanishad. It is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it is originally from Shweta Upanishad. Okay, how do I go back? The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to do anything personally, for he has such potencies that everything he wants to be done will be done perfectly. Through the control of the material nature, Swabhavati Gana Bala Kriya. Similarly, those who are engaged in the service of the Lord are not meant to struggle for existence. The devotees who are fully engaged in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, more than 10,000 men and women all over the world, have no steady or permanent occupation. Yet we actually see, that they are maintained very opulently. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasite tesham nitya viyuktanam yogashemam vahamyam. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. The devotees have no anxiety over what will happen next, where they will stay, or what they will eat. For everything is maintained and supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has promised, Kaunteya Pratijanani Name Bhaktya Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. From the angles of vision, therefore, in all circumstances, if one fully surrenders into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of one struggling for existence. In this connection, the commentary by Sripad Madhvacharya, who quotes from the Tantra Bhagavata, is very meaningful. Satchabda uttamam bhuya anandantiti vade yeti jnanam samuddhishtam purna anand drishesh tatha atratvakcha tadadana satyatya chochate vibhu. Explaining the word Satya Asya Yonim, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna is the Avatari, the origin of all incarnations. All incarnations are the absolute truth. Yet the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the origin of all incarnations. Deeparche evahi dashantaram abhyupetya deepayate. Brahma Samhita 546. There may be many lamps, all equal in power. Yet there is the first lamp, a second lamp, a third lamp, and so on. Similarly, there are many incarnations who are compared to lamp. But the first lamp, the original personality of Godhead, is Krishna. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. The demigod must offer worship in obedience to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is saying that the demigod must offer worship in obedience to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one might argue that since the Supreme Godhead was within the womb of Devaki, he was also coming in material body. Why then should he be worshipped? Why should one make a distinction between an ordinary living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? These questions are answered in the following verses. Ekyano asau dvifalas trimulas chaturasa panchvida shadatmaha saptatvagasht vitapo navaksho dashadi dvikhago hi adi vriksha. The body, the total body and the individual body are of the same composition, but figuratively we call the original tree. From the tree, from which fully depends on the grounds of material nature, comes two kinds of fruit: enjoyment of happiness and the suffering of distress. The cause of the tree coming in the three roots is association. We have studied that in detail in the 15th chapter. The cause of the tree forming its three roots. What are three roots? Three modes. Is the association with the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. The fruit of bodily happiness have four tests: dharma, religiosity; economic development is artha; self-gratification is kama; and liberation is moksha, which are experienced through five senses for acquiring knowledge. In the midst of six circumstances: lamentation, illusion, old age, death, hunger, and thirst. The seven layers of bark covering the tree are the skin, blood, muscle, fat, bone, marrow, and semen. And the eighth branch of the tree are the five gross and three subtle elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and causation. The tree of the body has nine hollows: the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the mouth, the rectum, and the genitals, and 10 leaves. The 10 air passes through the body. In this tree of the body, there are two worlds. One is the individual soul, and the other is the super soul. This was the translation. The Prabhupada will give an elaborate description of this prayer. The material world is composed of 5 principal elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Tham. All of which are emanations from Krishna. Although materialistic scientists may accept these 5 primary elements to be the cause of the material manifestation, these elements in their gross and subtle states are produced by Krishna, whose marginal potency also produces the living entities working within this material world. The 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita clearly states that the entire cosmic manifestation is the combination of 2 of Krishna's energies, the superior energy and the inferior energy. The living entities are the superior energy, and the inanimate material elements are his inferior energy. In the dormant state, everything rests in Krishna. Material scientists cannot give such a thorough analysis of the material structure of the body. The analysis of the material scientist concerns itself only with inanimate matter. But this is inadequate because the living entity is completely separate from the material bodily structure. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.15, Lord says, Aparayamitastu Vanyam Vidhi Prakati Me Varam Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho Yedam Dharite Jagat. Besides the inferior nature. What is the inferior nature? Consisting of all what is seen by this family today. Although the material elements emanate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, they are separated elements and situated and are sustained by the living elements. As indicated by the word Vikhaga, the living element within the body resemble 2 birds in a tree. Kha means sky and Ga means one who flies. Thus the word Vikhiga refers to a bird. In the tree of body, there are 2 birds or 2 living elements. And they are always different. In the Bhagavad Gita 13.3, the Lord says, Kshetrajam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. O Sian of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. The Kshetrajna, the individual knower of the body. The individual soul is the knower of an individual body, but the super soul is present within the body of all living entities. Such a thorough analysis and understanding of the bodily structure cannot be obtained elsewhere but in the Vedic literature. When 2 birds enter a tree, one may foolishly think that the bird becomes one or merge with the tree, but actually they do not. Rather, each bird keeps his individuality, his individual identity. Similarly, the individual soul and the super soul do not become one, nor do they merge with matter. The living entity lives close to matter, but this does not mean that he merges or mixes. With matter. The living entity lives close to matter, but this does not mean that he merges or mixes with it. Asanga hi ayam purusha. Asango hi ayam purusha. Although material scientists mistakenly see the organic and inorganic or animate and inanimate to be mixed, Vedic knowledge has been kept in present or concealed, but every human being needs to understand it in truth. The modern civilization of ignorance is simply engaged in analyzing the body, and thus people come to the erroneous conclusion that the living force within the body is generated under certain material condition. People have no information of the soul, but this verse gives the perfect explanation that there are two living forces. That there are two living forces, Dvikhaga, the individual soul and the super soul. The super soul is present in every body. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hiridesha Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 18:16. Whereas the individual soul is situated only in his own body. And all transmigration from one body to another. Whereas the individual soul is situated within his work, within his own body. Okay. Transmigrating from one body to another. Verse number 28. Tvam hi evasya sata purushas prashutis tvam sanidhinam tvam anugrahascha tvam mayaya samvrita chetasastvam pashyanti nana cha vipaschito ye. The efficient part of this material world manifested with its many varieties as the original tree is you, O Lord, and you are also the maintainer of this material world. And after annihilation, you are the one in whom carrying everything is conserved. Those who are covered by your external energy cannot see you behind this manifestation, but tries to act in the vision of learned devotee. Various demigods, beginning from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even Vishnu, are supposed to be the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this material world. But actually, they are not. The fact is that everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, manifested in varieties of energy. Ekam evadit Dvitiyam Brahma. Ekam eva Dvitiyam Brahma. There is no second existence. Those who are truly vipaschit, learned, and those who have reached the platform of understanding and observing the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any condition of life, Premanjana Churit Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hideshu Vilokya. Learned devotees accept even conditions of distress as representing the presence of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is in distress, he sees that the Lord has appeared as distress, just to relieve or purify the devotee from the contamination of the material world. While one is within this material world, one is in various conditions, and therefore a devotee sees a condition of desires. When a devotee is in distress, he sees that the Lord has appeared as distress just to relieve or purify the devotee from the contamination of the material world. While one is within this material world, one is in various conditions, and therefore a devotee sees a condition of distress as but another feature of the Lord. Tatte nukampam susumekshamano. Bhagavad Gita 10:14. A devotee therefore regards distress as a great favor by the Lord, because he understands while one is within this material world, one is in various conditions, and therefore devotees see the condition of distress as but for another feature of the Lord. Tatte nukampam susumekshamano. A devotee therefore regards distress as a great favor of the Lord, because he understands that he is being cleansed of contamination. Tesham aham samudrata mityu sansara sagara. The appearance of distress is a negative process intended to give the devotee relief from this material world, which is called Mrityu Samsara, or the constant repetition of birth and death. To save, to save a surrendered soul from repeated birth and death, the Lord purifies him of contamination by offering him a little distress. This cannot be understood by a non-devotee. But a devotee can see this because he is requested or learned. A non-devotee therefore is perturbed in distress. But a devotee welcomes distress, another feature of the Lord. Sarvam khalo udam brahma. A devotee can see actually that there is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no second entity. Ekam eva dvitiya. There is only the Lord who represents himself in different stages. There is only the Lord who presents himself in different stages. Persons who are not in real knowledge think that Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and Shiva the annihilator, and that the different demigods are intended to fulfill diverse purposes. Thus, they have created diverse purposes. Thus, they create diverse purposes to worship various demigods to have these purposes fulfilled. Kamastesta hita jnana prapadyante anidoro. A devotee, however, knows that the various demigods are but different parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that these parts could not be worshipped, as the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 9:23. ये अपि अन्य देवता भक्त्या यज्ञेति श्रद्धयान्विता ते अपि मामेव कौन्तेय यज्ञन्तो अविधिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods, who worship them with faith, actually worship me, O son of Kunti, but they do it avidhi purvakam, in a wrong way. There is no need to worship the demigods. There is no need to worship the demigod, for this is the avidhi, not in order. Simply by surrendering oneself to the lotus feet of Krishna, one can completely discharge one's duties. There is no need to worship various demigods, deities. There are various divinities are observed by the mudhas fools who are bewildered by the three modes of material energy. Trivid guni maye bhave. Such fools cannot understand that the real source of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mohitam na vijanati ma me bhyo parapapya. 7:30. Not being disturbed by the Lord's various features, concentrate upon the worship of the Supreme Lord Mam Ekam Sharanam Bhaja. This should be the guiding principle of one's life. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry, I'm not able to concentrate because body is already exhausted. Anyway, somehow we will try to read. Anyone has any observation on these prayers? Three prayers that we recited and read, all being led by Lord Brahma. Any observation from these prayers? Or anything inspired you? Very special prayers being recited before the appearance of the Lord. Okay, then I'll stop here. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय।